Tonight, ADA price has broken a key trend line. All the while, Cardano Vasil hard fork coming in hot. Are you ready? What's up, everyone? Welcome to Crypto Capital Venture. Let's dive into the video. This is ADA on the 6 hour. You see it right there. This breakout that has occurred. I'm excited to kind of dive into the charts. Before we do, Vasil hard fork. We've been talking about it for a while, but we've been all waiting. If you're an ADA holder, we've been waiting. Vasil incoming. This is a CTO yesterday. SPOs, exchanges, DApp, developers, ready yourself for Vasil, the incoming Cardano hard fork combinator event. And he was retweeting IOHK over here, basically talking about IOHK, the whole dev and SPO community continue to work hard preparing for Vasil upgrade. And it kind of went in. So a new node version 1.35.3 has been released for use on the Vasil DevNet and the new pre-production environment. This new pre-production environment has been set up to provide a clean, more agile environment to test against 1.35.3 for exchanges and SPOs. Big deal, everybody. It really is. It's the workings behind the machine. It's happening. The inner workings. The Vasil upgrade, this is what I wanted to read real quick. The Vasil upgrade is the most ambitious program of work we've undertaken. And you know, we've been tracking on this YouTube channel. You see these green boxes, these really big events, these hard fork combinator events. We have all the way back here, smart contracts coming into play. We have the multi-asset ledger back here in March 2021. Even the staking mechanism, really big events for Cardano. And right here we have IOHK basically saying this is the most ambitious program of work we've undertaken. None of this would have been possible without the community support. It's been a real team effort. So three things. This is really what I wanted to cover. 3 critical mass indicators will determine when we trigger the mainnet update. This is huge. Number 1, 75% of mainnet blocks being created by the final Vasil node candidate. 2, roughly 25 exchanges upgraded. And 3, key mainnet dApps confirming they have upgraded to 1.35.3 on pre-production and on mainnet. And we are getting close, everybody. In case you're looking for a deeper dive into Vasil upgrade, check out the latest mid-month dev update, and I'll put a link in the description for that if you want to check that out. But this is a really big deal for Cardano. It really is. It's a big deal in this story of scalability. I mean, in the general story of Cardano in general, obviously it's a big deal, but you know, we talk about Cardano solving the trilemma, right? Decentralization, security, scalability. Well, here we are. And this Vasil upgrade is a very, very big piece of that puzzle, right? Especially in terms of, it's a scalability puzzle piece. That's what this is. And it's a really big one. And so it's exciting. It's exciting if you're an ADA holder, and we are ADA holders, most of us. So we're going to continue tracking it and also just tracking how it plays into the charts, because this is something we've been tying into the charts, that data, because we've tracked previous hard fork events and what happened going into these events. And it's important to note, all 3 of those events, from Shelly to Mary to Alonzo, we saw ADA pump in price. 2 things to note. Number 1, there's no guarantee it's going to happen going into this one. We don't have an exact date, obviously, but this is speculative, same type of time range on this box. But going into the hard fork, wherever it is, we're potentially set up for a nice little price pump. No guarantees. But the other thing that I wanted to note, secondly, was this. After each one of these hard forks, ADA did some type of consolidation, right, to the downside or sideways. And that's very important. So keep mind of that, because that's going to be a data point that we track post hard fork, because we obviously are tracking this data going into the hard fork. Is price going to pump? But this is data we're going to track post hard fork as well. And really just to see how consistent it is in terms of these previous hard fork events. So just in case you haven't seen my previous videos, we've been tracking. We had the MACD crossing on the signal line in July. For this macro chart on the weekly. This momentum shift to the upside has been in play. It's been just a kind of a nice little slow U-turn is what we're looking for. And it's been happening here on the weekly chart. Even right now as I do this video, I don't know how the weekly will close, but 200-week moving average here, Cardano trading above it. Will ADA, this is a big question for me on the weekly, can ADA trade close this weekly candle above this 200-week moving average? And then obviously we have the biggie, the very, very big one, the 20-week moving average sitting here around 63 cents. That's a big deal when we go start pivoting into the zoomed in charts, because we have a target above this area. A weekly candle above this area could be monumental for the macro long-term charts for Cardano. So let's pivot over here. So here's that U-turn that we just were talking about. And you see it. This is kind of this new upper trend line that we started tracking not too long ago, this curved upper trend line in blue, lower lows, lower highs going into the U-turn, into the momentum shift. And all the while that's playing out, very cool that we had that MACD crossing on the weekly chart, right? This is a daily. Remember, the MACD crossing somewhere in July around here, right? And we get the pivot, we get the bounce, and then we've gotten squeezed into the between this lower or this upper trend line and this macro trend line, and that's the story we've been tracking. I'm not going to kind of repeat it, because if you've been tracking along my ADA TA, you know all about that trend line. That white trend line goes all the way back to 2018, and that's what Cardano has been getting squeezed in between. But here's the big deal. Here's the break. The break is coming out of this ascending triangle. We were just tracking. We've been tracking I think the last video I did, ADA was testing the lower trend line in the apex of the triangle, the ascending triangle. And here's what it looks like now. You can see ADA, it bounced off of the lower trend line. Look at that bounce. Came back up, kind of tested the apex once again, and then boom, the break up to the upside. So here we are right now, everybody. We've been tracking this momentum shift for a while. We've been tracking this ascending triangle on the shorter term, and now we've made our way to the apex. We got the bounce off of the apex, and you can't even tell me, like, you just can't even tell me that technical analysis doesn't work, because the consistency and the flow of that chart, I mean, how good does that look? How good, how consistent, because we see this so often. We start anticipating breakouts towards the apex, and look what happened. It was a breakout. It doesn't always have to be up, doesn't always have to be down, but usually it's one of two ways, right? It's pretty much how it works. And we're just here, we're anticipating these things, and here we are right now. We got the break to the upside through the upper trend line. Now the target to the upside is in that 70, 72 cent range up here. It is important for multiple reasons. Number one, you see this yellow trend line. If we go back to the daily, because that's a 6 hour, we go to the daily, that yellow trend line, it's the bear market trend line. It is the bear market story. It is the pain of just you and I sitting on here on YouTube, tracking the lower highs of Cardano. That yellow line is the foundation of that lower high story. And it's just lower high after lower high after lower high. That yellow trend line is a target area for ADA on these shorter term charts. Now, not only that, remember, we were just looking at the weekly chart. Remember, this 20-week moving average, which is kind of a moving average illustration of that yellow trend line. It sits a little bit below, but it really is, that's the lower high resistance area, the 20-week moving average for ADA sitting around 63, 64 cents. So when we start zooming in on this chart, if ADA hits the target to the upside, ADA will be sitting above the 63, 64 cent range, right? Here's that line. So this is on a 6 hour chart, but right here is where that 20-week moving average is, that lower high bear market resistance. That's where it is on the weekly. If ADA on the 6 hour can make a break to the upside, ADA will be trading above. And we're going to be in this technical analysis environment where we're talking about, hey, can ADA show support above on the weekly chart, that 20-week moving average? So going back to the weekly, this is what it would look like. Not saying it's breaking this week before this candle closes, but a weekly candle trading above this green line is what we're waiting for. It could be this week, could be next week. It might not happen. There might be resistance. We come down, and it could be in September or October. But that's what we're waiting for. When will there be a weekly candle, a weekly green candle trading above that green line, the 20-week moving average? But right now in the short term, there is a target to the upside breaking above it. And then it's obviously going to be not a direct shot to those targets. And this is what I wanted to discuss, is we get throwbacks all of the time. We get breakouts to the upside. We always anticipate just consolidation to the downside, some type of throwback to test support. So right now we have a trend line, this blue curved trend line that we've been watching. It's acting kind of as a ascending triangle, confluent with that ascending triangle upper trend line. So really in this 53, 54 cent range, we want to just anticipate a throwback and watch. Will there be support for ADA? Not to mention, I haven't even mentioned this, and this is a huge piece of the chart. It's the 20-day and the 50-day moving averages. That is the area now. Put aside this blue trend line. That is the area we have to just consistently watch. And we had the 20-day moving average cross above the 50. We've been watching for support. We got the bounce off of the 20, which was great. We didn't even have to come test the 50. But now, even if we get overextension all the way to a target of like 70 cents, 72 cents, even if ADA is just flying, right, to the upside, as these moving averages come up, we have to continue to track higher highs and higher low support above these moving averages, because that's the bullish environment we want to be in. Again, to really illustrate that point, that's what we see in these bull market moves. It's just constant support above these moving averages. You see this? Higher highs and higher lows. That's that parabolic environment that we'd like to see cryptos trade in. And it's just been, man, it's been a very long time since ADA has been in that environment. Last August, it's been a year since ADA has been in that environment. We've been in a bear market basically since that all-time high in September. So we're still waiting for that. It's been a long story to get to that point, but it's going to be a continued story, a slow-moving story to track and wait for that to happen. But it's just another piece of data on these charts we have to track at any given time now that ADA is above these two moving averages, the 20-day and the 50-day. We have to just watch to see if support holds. So that's what I'll be watching. But big deal, I would say, on these charts right now. ADA breaking to the upside out of this pattern, breaking the trend line. All the while, we have Vasil hard fork getting ready, getting very close to happening. And it's just an exciting time. It's an exciting time for ADA holders. It's an exciting time for Cardano, the network. The protocol is just continuing to deliver, and really just continuing to prove itself as a very reliable and proven blockchain. So I'm excited to track it with you all. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I hope you're having a great weekend. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.